Oh, hello. Could you stop making so much noise? Thank you. Okay, so some of you might have seen SKL85's recent Hermitcraft episode where he made a vending machine, as he called it, for villagers, where you select a villager in a book, click a button, you wait a few seconds, and that villager magically comes falling down. Death Strider, okay. You can send him back. And then you can select a new villager. And there's your new villager. And then you can send him back, and he goes back to his slot. So this is the system I've been working on for the past probably 5 hours, I don't know. But the system holds 15 villagers in total. This system is fairly small, at least when we take into account what it does. So how this works is each of these villager cells, with this is the signal strength from the lectern, and why I've chosen 15 is because 15 is the max amount of output from this thing. If you do 16 pages, one of those pages will they won't do anything. I just saw it in action there, by the way. So the selector chooses which piston is down, and that piston pushes the block down, which when I push this call button, that sends a signal up and sends a redstone signal powering that block that I just pushed down, the selected one, powering this powered rail, which the observer sees, then makes the sticky piston fire once, a one-tick pulse, so it pulls the block up, letting the villager go through, sending the villager to me, and then when the signal goes out, it puts the block down again. Okay, so number 4, which is that villager. When I push the button, you get sent over, and now it's basically reset. And this light, when you call a villager, you don't have to think about it. But when you send a villager away, you gotta wait. The thing that's a bit odd about this is, if I go from villager 4, right, if I have villager 4 here, and I want villager 7, because villager 7 is on this side, that villager, I can do this now, because this villager in the system is after that one. When this one is not here, okay, so when the villager is not there, this powered rail, this normal array, will be the other direction. Let me actually just send him back, and then I can show you. So he goes to his empty slot. But if I take out number 2, you see this powered rail is waiting for a villager. If I have number 9 here, which number 9 is the one selected right now, which is here, and I want number 13, which is this one, which is earlier in the system. What will happen when I call this guy is that he will take the vacant slot of 13. So what is interesting now is they've essentially swapped places. They haven't yet, but they essentially have. If I now know that, oh no, I messed up, I can just swap them out. The other one will come back, which is a vacant slot in the system now, which is number 9. Which was here somewhere? Yeah. So this is number 9 slot, which is empty. So I can send him back to number 9. But that's one of the downsides of the system. I have no no way of actually telling the system that number 9 is the one that's there, and number 9 needs to come back. It's a vacant, take the first slot that's empty system. So that's why I have the lamp, because in the terrible event that you have this guy in there and you want this guy is gonna end up there. And I don't want that happening, so I have a light telling me that I shouldn't click yet. So I think that kind of gets the idea across. So I guess let's try and make a tutorial for this thing. So I'm just gonna do it right over here. Oh, oopsie. Just so that I have reference, because I know I will not remember how to do everything. It's just not gonna happen. So for this thing to work at all, I need to have the villagers in a zigzag, because as you can see here, every single piston is one villager, so that's one villager on one side, other side, other side, other side. I don't know if a system like this would actually work. I haven't tested, but then would they be able to see the lectern? I don't know, so I'm not going to test that. I've done enough. So the system consists of 15 of these cells. I'll quickly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then the last cell here, which actually needs to be one further out. Am I lying? No, it needs to be one further out. So now the powered rails go in. So you'll need 15 powered rails in total. I mean the texture rails. So these cells are probably the easiest thing to build. The only thing is on top of here, it gets complicated real quick. From this, you go 5 up and 1 to the side and start placing servers. There we go. You don't need to put the pistons in yet, but you might as well. The only thing that's going to be annoying is that they fire. So what we're going to do now is just build up. These are temporary, but we build up blocks around here because we need powered rails to face in this direction. If they were to go like this, whenever you powered one, you'd power all of them. That's not what we want. So therefore we need to do it a little bit of a hard way, but this is just a repeat process. Okay, so when you've placed in all of these powered rails, what you do is just come to the side and just remove all these blocks. On this layer right here, which is exactly the layer below the pistons and 3 blocks above the ground level. We'll call this ground level. You're gonna go every other block with block of smooth stone, and then in between you're gonna have redstone blocks. Wherever you can place a powered rail, do so. It will generally speed up the system, so it's only there's no minus of not doing this. So when you've placed in all of that, you can go ahead and place in all your powered and normal rails. Oh, and one thing I forgot right down here, doesn't really matter where, but if you want to place 2 blocks, that's fine, but I generally want to place it somewhere along the middle, so I only use 1 block. I should have done this before I started messing with anything else, because now I had to fix these 2, but that's a minor issue. Above each cell, we're gonna place a smooth stone, or any kind of slab really, upside down slab. When you've placed all your slabs, go ahead and place rails on each one of them. When that's done, we can actually begin with the redstone. So it's different on each side because of the fact that rails differ a lot. Okay, so let's say this is the right side, right? This is the rails going here, and then it's connected to this upper rail, which is this one. I want the default position to be that the villager goes in, right? Goes into the cell if it's vacant, of course. And if it's not vacant, it goes on. So off it goes in and on it goes past, right? But on the other side, which is essentially the same, let's see, yeah. I want the default position to make it go in, but when it's not powered, it's sending the villager on. So I need to power it for the villager to get in. This is of course just the normal mechanics of the rails. I'm just pointing it out. You'll have to pay attention to this. So what we'll start doing is just placing torches all along these blocks. These torches are going to be turned on and off by the detector rail. Whenever a minecart gets in, it gets turned off. So the next line of torches are going to go here on the back side of the block. What we're going to do now is continue around placing blocks on top of all of these torches. When you're done placing all the torches, this is where the fun begins. So as I said, I want the default position to make the villager go in. This would then not work, but this would. So if there's now a villager in here, it's gonna send the next villager past. So on this side, we're gonna need a redstone dust and a block. So you repeat that all over it, so that each cell gets the same setup. So now for this one, we have to figure out which one of these setups we'll need. So this with a torch, that's not correct. Let's see, hold on. This one with a torch, it sends them in at default, and that's what we want. So when there's a villager, it sends the next one on. So you might have to do a little bit to make it update, but on this side as well, with a torch instead of a redstone dust, the default position makes the villager go in. So therefore, on this side, we will want redstone torches. So as a side note, on this last one, the necessity of this redstone isn't really any at all. You don't really need this part because the lost villager will always end up in the cell. But now the redstone part is essentially done, at least for the cells. Of course, there's a lot remaining, but we're almost getting there. So what you could do now is start placing in all your lecterns or whatever profession you want the villagers that are here to have. So you could go and only place one for each cell, but I recommend you placing a few more just so you're certain they actually find a lectern or a workbench. After you've done that, what's important is that on the opposite side of each cell, there needs to be a block or a half slab. So as I just showed, that half slab needs to be on top of the lectern or whatever block you have there. When we're done with that, we can begin placing in these blocks, the upside down half slabs at the level of the villagers right here. So these are the blocks that's actually going to keep the villagers in their cells until you press a button and, well, you retract and place back the block, send them off to your station. So next up, we actually need a way to specify which one of these we're gonna use. So what you'll do is on the first one, you just place two blocks on top of these rails, and on the top block of those, you place a upside down sticky piston, and then a block beneath that. So you'll have a 1 block gap here, so that whenever this sticky piston is active or extended, the block is going to be besides the powered rail. Just continue placing all the sticky pistons, and this is going to be on the left side of the powered rails, 1 block to the left. Okay, so when you're done placing in all of your sticky pistons, what we could do, and what we should do and will do, is place in all the redstone for the activation from the player hand. So what we'll do is we'll use upside down half slabs, because the villagers are going to pass through here, so we rather not kill them. These half slabs are placed 1 block to the right of, or the left, if you look at it from the same direction as the old one. There's a 1 block gap between the observer and the upside down half slabs, and there's 2 half slabs, and they run all the way down to the end of the piston line. So here comes the not tricky part, but the redstone part. On every second block, what is important here is that the cells furthest away is the ones that get the redstone repeater, because these cells, when the villager is sent back, it doesn't really take that long, and like on this one, the request button and the send back button is the same one. So for this closest villager, if I request him, if I were to have more delay on this one, which is this one, right? This is number 2. If I were to have a repeater there, what will happen is he's not gonna stay there because, well, the half slab isn't actually down, holding him in place when he gets there. So it's really important that the cells that are furthest away get the redstone repeater, and the closest ones gets the redstone dust. But if you build this exactly the same way, it's going to be the first one, that is the redstone repeater, and then redstone dust. And then you repeat this. When you've placed in all the repeaters and redstone dust, you just run a line of redstone all the way down here. And on the end, you place a half slab and a redstone repeater. So now comes the actual part that selects which piston is going to be extended, and therefore selects which cell is going to be activated by your button. So you'll come 2 blocks out from the piston on the right side, and you'll place a torch here. I'd recommend starting with this first one, then making your way further as you go. So if you make this shape right here, you're going to have repeaters like this, and then torches going along here, and this is going to be where the redstone dust goes. So as you can see over there, it's a repeated process, but what I'd recommend doing is placing all these blocks first, and when you've placed in all of those, you place in the torches. So I was a bit of a dumbus, so I placed this torch after this one, so I gave the pistons a 1-tick pulse, which was kinda silly. But now what we'll do is we'll place all the repeaters, then we can begin placing these blocks. And if you've done so, you can place in all the redstone. So you can probably recognize this specific circuit because it's used a lot, and there's really no better way of doing it. It's the simplest and best solution by far. When it's all placed in, you can place a Redstone Comparator right here. This is going to be the input, and I have my my input right here, but as long as these hook up, you could really have it anywhere as long as the button input and the selector signal and the rails hook up. You can really have this part wherever you want. But essentially, this is all the redstone done. This is where the villagers are going to be sent back. So if I have the villager hole right here, or the vending machine part right here. He's gonna come out here, drop down, and when I send him back, he's gonna go back here. Other than that, you can really do what you want, but I will build exactly the one that I've done myself, just as an example. So on my design, I've started going up right here, and you'll see now that I actually need to power this, but I'll fix that in a minute. I go 3 blocks up in total, so I'm at the same level as the rest of the rails on top here. And then I make the villager drop down to the ground level again. So this is ground level, and from the fall, this is where the villager will be. I go 1 block out, and then I make my platform. Of course, this could look and feel however you want, but in this gap right here, that's where I want the lectern to sit. So now, of course, it's filling in this little gap right here, which I do as so. Now on the side here is where I take the output from the Redstone Comparator. And this is where a weird snaking circuit kind of occurs. But what I'll do is I'll wait, and you should too, so that I know it wouldn't interfere with my other things that I've got going on here. So what this is the rails that will take the villager back. So we're sending him anti-clockwise, the villagers, so I'll of course send him to the right. And these two, I will not have powered default because those are the ones I'm going to send the villager away with. But this right here, there's no reason not to power this. And what I do is I have the, you save a redstone block on having this lever here, because it also activates these right here. One thing I forgot right here is to make sure the villager doesn't come here with a ton of speed and jump over. We just place a block there, just for safety. Now that we know exactly where this rail is going, we know not to interfere with it, and we can start snaking this up there. The important thing here is that this signal strength is not actually changed in any way. So what I do, or what I did rather, let's see. I actually need to look at this again because I don't remember. So what I did on the other one, and I'm going to do here, is I first took the comparator output 1 block away, of course, because it's got to look pretty. I want 1 block up with a redstone dust on it, a block besides it, then the comparator, a block with a redstone dust. I went a comparator right onto it, then a block, redstone dust, and then a block, then a comparator, then we'll have a block here with redstone dust on it, and then a block. Could I potentially, no, okay. Then a comparator on that, a block, a block with redstone dust, a block there, so being soft powered, then a comparator right there. So now this is the part where it goes into it. So this is a bit different than the one I did there, but you get the general idea. The important thing is there's no place where the redstone, for example, goes 2 blocks before it goes into the comparator, because it's going to lose 1 signal strength. So what you'll need now is a book with 15 pages. What they say you'll change as you go, but for now I don't have anything written here because I don't really care. It's creative. There's no villagers I really need. You don't need to sign this. You just place it in there, and your selector, you should see, is now working. But now comes the button that we've all been waiting for. So I used a redstone lamp here simply to tell myself not to press the button too quickly. And unless you're the only one using the system, I also recommend you doing this. So down here, what we're going to do is we're going to run a repeater into this block right here. Because that will, as soon as you press the button, it's going to power these rails and send whatever villagers here off into the system. After this block, we're going to have a half slab, and this is what's going to eventually run into this at the top. So at the top here, we need a small signal extender so that the signal lasts a bit longer. We don't need any delays on anything because that's just going to mess up the collection of the villagers. But off of this, we can just go down, let's see, one block with a half slab and then continue going downwards. And then we just place all the redstone, and that is essentially now hooked up. So when we press a button, it will release a villager based on what villager we've got selected. Now it comes to timer that I was so anxious about not having. So what we'll do is we'll place a block right here. I could have used slabs as well, but it looks better with a redstone repeater facing into it. We're gonna have a block. We're gonna have a block right here. Then we need 3 comparators, like so, and a block right here. So we'll have 2 redstone dust and redstone dust there, and a repeater right there to vortex. I'm sorry, this is not actually what you need here. You need a redstone torch on this block right there. So now when you press the button, this turns off the redstone torch for X amount of seconds before it turns it on again and tells you now you can press the button again. The system is essentially done, but you're missing one thing, and that's villagers. What I'm just gonna quickly do is add a little bit of detail right here, just so it's gonna be a bit harder to see the redstone. So how you get your villagers into the system is, I guess, on you, but I can give you a little tip. That is just using this ledge right here to get them in. If you have powered rails right here, which now, of course, is powered by this redstone dust, sending a villager in this way will send him into the system. So what this does is just pick up the villager and send him off into the system. And there we go. Now you can start filling it up. So I realized when testing the system now that these hadn't actually updated, so they were facing the wrong direction. So when you've filled up the whole system, it's ready for use. But anyways, that is it. I really hope you got something out of this. There's a big mess here, but don't think about that. You've hopefully got a very, very good functional villager trading hole. So one thing I haven't actually tested is if this is directional. If you need to have it west. It very well might be, because these villagers, when they're pushed down onto the rails, they happen to go this direction. So I'm assuming you have to build this towards the west, but hopefully that's not going to cause any issues for you. But anyways, I've got my rad skin on, and I'll probably not make a video in a long time, but anyways, hope you enjoyed. Bye.